All right, Monday. Hey, right this time, because finally know what's going on. Been a long day though, but good. A lot of good stuff happening. Things moving forward. A lot of fun stuff for you guys that's coming in the near future. Once we finalize some things, so excited about all of that, and we will get you, that information as soon as we can share it publicly on some of the fantastic partnerships and other things that we're going to be announcing here in Q4 when it comes to Digital Ascension Group and also Digital Wealth Partners. I don't know if you guys have been watching the markets like I have, but I am excited to say, and also scared, that gold is gold's almost looking like she's close to the top here at $4,000 gold. You guys know my position on gold. I do think that we're going to be pulling back all the way to $2,000 to $2,100, which is not what you're going to hear from everybody else. I hope I'm wrong. Hope people make a bunch of money. It goes to 10,000 bucks, and there's a reset and all the other things that people talk about or speculate on. That's just not what I think is going to happen. But again, I'm just one guy on the internet. So always take, what I have to say with a grain of salt. Go do your own research. Watch other smart people, and then you can kind of put together whatever your plan is going to be for your portfolio. And on that, probably just go ahead and jump right into the disclaimer here. Nothing said here is financial advice. Always for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult with a financial advisor before making any financial investment decisions. If you need a financial advisor to talk about your crypto portfolio, we would love to help you at Digital Wealth Partners. We have the only SEC registered RIA that will actually give you a consult and work with you on your digital assets. If you want to book with our team, we would love to talk to you. It is $300, but they can actually give you financial advice on your crypto portfolio over there at digitalwealthpartners.net. Just fill out the contact us form, and they will reach out to you. So if you need that it's there, but nothing I say is affiliated with the opinions of the firm at Digital Ascension Group or Digital Wealth Partners. These are my opinions, and they're separate. So when it comes down to it, though, I do think that we're going to see a big pullback here in markets when the reverse carry trade unwinds. We are past the danger zone that I've been talking about for a long time over there on the JPY 10-year yield. We're up to 1.7 on the yield there after the new prime minister has won the election, who has a conservative outlook. She is more capitalistic in her thoughts. And, they believe that she is going to maintain low interest rates. We'll see if that's the case or not. I don't think she's going to have that choice. They are going to have to aggressively raise interest rates. And they're really on a razor's edge at this point. If there's anything that causes additional inflation in their economy, we're going to get the unwind. And you're seeing it in markets right now. With the stock market at an all-time high, gold at an all-time high, silver back at its all-time high. You've seen a slight move over the last 24 hours, kind of holding steady at the price points on gold and on silver. I talked about this in the Mastermind a little bit earlier today. We have a town hall digital asset discussion every Monday where we go over the macro and where things are at in the market, and how to position yourself over there, or what I'm doing. And then people can take that with a grain of salt and figure out what they want to do. But, I do think that there's a possibility that we see silver continue to move higher here up to around $100 per ounce. That's kind of the top of what I'm seeing it go to, especially if we get the regression in gold back to 2,000 or 2,100. Traditionally, the gold to silver ratio has been around 1 to 40. So 1 ounce of gold to 40 ounces of silver. Biblically, it's 1 to 14. If you look at what's in the ground, it's actually like 1 to 8. So there's a lot of people out there like Andy Scheckman and many others that do think that silver could outperform gold. But I think it will be when gold is falling, silver continues to rise a little bit. And if you did see, gold pull all the way back to 2000 and silver was at 100, that would be 1 to 20, which would be close to the top end of the ratio for what we see most of the time. And you do tend to see a rotation out of gold into silver at the tops of cycles like this. So I do think, might get a double from here on silver if you're hanging out over there. I know a lot of people are very happy with their purchases over the past 20 years that they've been holding on to in their silver portfolio. Had you picked gold and you were to rotate, a portion over time as that ratio continued to stay wide at, at some points it was 1 to 100 and 1 to 80, like it is right now, that would be a better bet to rotate into silver, in my personal opinion. But, gold again has outperformed a lot of other things over the past 12 months for sure. And I do think, we are close to a top here in gold. I do think we're going to get the 4,000 though. So not quite there, but pretty close. And you are seeing people move away from risk on assets, even though markets are continuing to go higher here. You saw the Russell breakout today. It's not looking good for risk on. We are seeing a lot of people moving to risk off assets and driving the prices of commodities much higher. We haven't seen the jump in oil yet that I've been talking about, but I do think that that's on the imminent horizon here, and will cause the reverse carry trade to unwind if that were to occur and cause energy prices there in Japan to go much higher. Their only recourse at that point will be to raise interest rates aggressively. And we all anticipate that here in the yes, this guy says, oh wow, bold prediction 4,000 gold. Been saying it for a while, Ryan. I know it's like $20 away at this point. Okay, I know it's not that wild of a, but I do. The wild prediction is the $2,000 gold on the other side of it. 2,000 or 2,100 come back and aggressively tap that previous all-time high in gold. I do think that that's going to happen along with many other markets. I'm anticipating, somewhere between a 40 and 60% drawdown in stocks when the reverse carry trade unwinds, a repricing of pretty much all assets at that point. We're going to see a massive deflationary reset on the price of many assets, and a lot of people's wealth is going to get wiped out during that period. And there are always winners and losers in markets. Okay, they are zero-sum games. The people that short it on the way down are going to make a lot of money. So again, not financial advice. You make your own decisions. But I do think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the near future for people that might be, having certain short positions. Nvidia and a lot of the FANG stocks that are there have had meteoric rises as the money printer has gone burr in the past 4 years here. I do think that they're going to have to massively reduce the M2 money supply when they reduce interest rates and move to real-time settlement for the back end of the stock market, FedNow, FedWire, all the stuff that we're anticipating if you're invested in digital assets. And many of us, will be able to ride that wave, and we will be the winners of the zero-sum game if you're positioned in the right assets. So hopefully, that's where you are. If you want to learn more about this stuff and you find this stuff interesting, before we get into the questions, I would encourage you to join the Mastermind. It's over there at beyondbroke.com, and you can use the code right up here at the top. Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar or month. All that's capitalized. Get you your first month in social or carbon 1 for just $2. So you can give it a try. It's month to month. We have over 7,500 people there in the community that choose to hang out there. We do in real life events. We try to provide people a ton of value for the cost. And we would encourage you again to go check it out. See if it's for you. If it's not for you, no skin off your nose. You can cancel at any time. There's no contract. But I mean, like I said, there's 7,500 people there that choose to just stay because they get so much value from the community. So again, we'd love to see you there. And we do stuff just like this on Saturdays and Mondays. I share a lot more there in the Mastermind than I do here publicly. And the higher up in the Mastermind you go, the more stuff I share. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into the chat here. We'll run it down for the super chats over here on YouTube. And again, appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday to hang out with me. And I don't ever say this enough, but if you wouldn't mind, please click that like, subscribe, notification bell, share this with somebody that you think would find value from it. we'll go ahead and hop into the questions here. We got T Mill 76. They say, legend. What's up, my man? He says, I have a friend with 55K XRP tokens in your growth fund at DWP. How many tokens would you guess that will grow to when XRP hits 100, 1,000, or 10,000? So the growth fund, and I can talk about this one because it's a 506c. We do have like 1 or 2 spots left in the growth fund if you want to reach out to Digital Wealth Partners and see if it's something you would like to participate in. It rides trends. So they do perpetual futures. I can tell you this, last year in November, when we saw the rise just to $3 from 50 cents, that fund performed 19.82% returns in that month, that 1 month alone. Over the past 5 years, irrespective of market conditions, they've returned anywhere between 27% on the low end and 47% on the high end, back to their investors with a 5-year track record that is audited. We went through 25 different managers before we started to work with this one as our sub-advisor in the fund to be able to generate additional XRP for people. We are going to have a payout here in the next week for those that are participating in the income fund alongside the growth fund. I think we're going to be somewhere around 2.5% on people's XRP over the last quarter. If we could do 1% a month on people's XRP, just in perpetuity, and it performed just that good, I would be ecstatic about those returns. If we had our fund on chain, we would be 5 times larger than any other liquidity pool for XRP. We have over $250 million worth of XRP being put to work with our partners and in the funds to be able to generate returns in a very compliant, safe, strategic, and well done way. It's the only opportunity that is actually available to a US investor in a regulated environment to be able to generate returns on your XRP. And we're going to have some yield products in the very near future as well. So to answer your question here, when it comes to what we will see on the perpetual futures and the return inside of the growth fund on the meteoric rise of XRP, I think it's going to be gangbusters. Personally, I think people are going to be compounding their XRP at a significant rip or rate. If a 6x on XRP generated 20% returns in 1 month, if it went from $3 to call it $50 in a very short period of time, like I anticipate it doing, that would be what? If it was 60, it'd be a 20x return. So a 6x return did 20%. If they captured all of that upside in the perpetual futures, which would be difficult to do, to be able to go that far out on a perpetual future and catch that trend, I don't know that they'll get all of it, but I mean, at least 30 or 40% returns in a single month seems very doable based on their previous track record and how they would position themselves if we did see that momentum building. And that's what they do. They catch trends in the market, whether it's up or down. Sideways movements, not so great for the growth fund. I don't know that we had, that much returns over the last quarter here for people in the growth fund. Pretty even, Steven, just because we've been hanging out here at around $3 and there really hasn't been a trend for them to catch on the perpetual futures. But as we do rise, they are very good at catching those trends and deploying that capital and generating that additional XRP. So we do, generate dollars, which we then convert to XRP. I'm trying to get them to take possession of the underlying XRP on the futures instead of rolling them. But they do trade perpetual futures, which are not a security. So that's another part of the secret sauce and how we structured this compliantly here in the US. So anyway, when it comes down to it, I'm hoping in that situation that we're a 30 or 40% return on people's capital in that quarter when those numbers, just the minimum number you mentioned there, $100 gets hit. And then the other ones as well, if we do see, big moves to the upside in short periods of time, we will continue to capitalize on that and be able to generate additional XRP inside the growth fund for our clients over there at Digital Wealth Partners. And many other people are started to catch on to this trend and figure it out. And it's likely that we will tokenize the fund over the long term, because I think that'd be cool. And as these amendments get passed on the XRPL for liquidity pools and liquidity pool tokens, pseudo accounts, borrow and lend, we will obviously continue to be on the cutting edge of all of that progression, working with our partners to be able to capitalize on that for our clients there at Digital Wealth Partners as well. We got James Clark, my man. He says, Jake, Mr. Legend. I understand you do not recommend Ledger, being it is what I have been using. Okay to continue, or do you recommend switching as soon as possible? I actually just recorded a video the other day on best practices for cold wallets, because there's a lot of people out there that don't meet our minimums for institutional custody. And, I wish I could provide it for everybody. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of red tape and compliance and cost that goes behind things. And we're, continuing to explore options to be able to bring those thresholds down. I just don't have anything today. So, helping people on the cold wallet side, I do think is a good idea. Here, look, like, where is it? Oh, it's in the back here. Ha! I have a ledger. I used to use this ledger. I don't anymore, but that doesn't mean you don't have to or don't want to. Okay. We have some clients that have had issues with that product. And I'll leave it there. Again, don't want to badmouth any brands or talk down around Ledger. Their CEO and the situation that he went through, not so great. I just personally don't use that cold wallet and don't recommend that most people use that cold wallet, mainly because it's clunky and it's hard to use. The UI on it's not great. It's kind of cumbersome to transfer assets. For most people, you want something that's a little simpler. Again, that's why we recommend Decent. The UI on it's great. This person says Tangem. Tangem's great. EliPal, Arculus. There's a lot of good stuff out there that air gaps it and provides, I think, a better solution than Ledger. But they are the OG. They've been around a long time. So again, if that's where you're at, hopefully you didn't buy it from Amazon or somebody else. This person says Trezor. Trezor is cool too. Again, I like Decent because of the biometric. It's got a really large breadth of assets that it can hold. So if you got multiple, assets that you are holding, makes a lot of sense. This person says Zaman. Yeah, if it's just XRP, I think Zaman's great. But it's a hot wallet. Just be aware that Zaman is a hot wallet. It's connected to the internet, and people can message you on there through dusting and some other stuff. I've seen people make poor choices with Zaman versus some of the other some of the other wallets. Not saying that's you or that you will have any problems with Zaman. I like Weedsay, good guy. I think he has a really good product. I will say this about Zaman. If you are sending larger transactions, they're starting to charge you transaction fees in that wallet, like 1% of what you send. Not really a fan of that. This person says Engrave. Yeah, like I said, there's tons of other good cold wallets out there that I think just do a better job than Ledger with the usability, the UI, the breadth of assets, biometric, the security. There's a lot of things, right? So if it's there and you are fine with it and you haven't updated the firmware, probably okay. But I'll tell you this, I did have one client that his assets mysteriously disappeared off of his ledger after 2 years. And this individual is very proficient, would not get fished, did not give anybody his keys, did not have anybody else have access to the wallet. But he did buy it off Amazon. So that's the deal there. Like, just make sure that you've bought it directly from the manufacturer. And just full disclosure, we are an affiliate for Decent. If you buy one, you use our link, we get like $5. I just want people to have access to good stuff that I trust. And so I think they're the only people that we've actually ever done an affiliate agreement with, because I actually use their product and I do think it's a good product. So again, there's lots of options out there. You don't have to use Decent. That's just the one that I recommend. We've got ADR. They say, when you fly domestic, do you fly first class or not worth it? And when is fit going to hit the sand? um, I haven't traditionally flown first class. Um, I will say, we did fly first class to Dubai in 23, and that was fantastic on Emirates. If you have the chance, if it's a really long flight, I do really recommend spending the extra money. I know it's expensive. Business is good enough as long as you can recline and sleep. If it is a really long flight, I think it's worth it. If you're taking a red eye or your flight's more than like 3 hours, I think first class is worth it. Or again, business. But if it's a short flight or it's not a red eye, I fly general a lot of the time. I mean, there's people in the mastermind that have seen me in general on planes. I'm not at the point yet where I can justify the additional cost unless it's like a level of comfort that I would prefer, you know. Now we'll say this: if you fly in first class, take advantage of it. The people that are up there can afford first class. So oftentimes you can meet cool people that you can do business with. And you're like, it's more expensive, but it only takes meeting the right person one time on a first class flight. And you make $100,000, $1,000,000, $10 million with that person. Was the $700 or $1,000 ticket worth it if you met the right person and did some business with them and made that much money? So, a lot of times people look at the cost on things and they don't look at what you get. And a lot of people don't exploit the benefits of stuff either. If you're up there, don't be fiddling on your phone. Like, talk to some people in first class. They're nice people most of the time. Sometimes they're yuppie and got their nose stuck up, but most of them are pretty cool. So, I'd recommend, if you are going to spend the extra, have some conversations while you're up there. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to do business with, and paying that little bit of extra, putting yourself in a position to meet the right person, can make a big difference in your ability to earn income and have success. So that's the only thing that I think people kind of miss out on, is you're used to sitting in general and people don't talk to each other. You're like stuffed in a seat and you're like, and you never know who you're going to meet in general either. I flew from New York to, or not New York, I flew from Dallas to New York. It was like a Monday morning flight, and senior vice president of MasterCard for their AI division and payments was on my flight, general boarding, so again, like, if you're flying to big cities, if you're flying first class, that was a Southwest flight, so there is no first class on Southwest. But if you're flying American or one of the other airlines, and you're flying business or first class, take advantage of it. Sometimes it is worth the extra money, depending on how far you're going, what time it is, and if you want to see if you can meet somebody. Blessed and highly favored. I love that, dude. He says, hey, legend, Beyond Broke, Mastermind, Carbon One here. Thank you for all that you do for the XRP Army. Your lives are always thoughtful and very thought out. May God bless you, sir. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I say that, so people will ask me how I am sometimes, and I'll say blessed and highly favored. I got that from Les Brown. I don't know if you guys listen to motivational speakers or not. Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins. There's a lot of them out there, and some of it's foo-foo. Okay, but words mean things, and how you talk to yourself and what you speak over yourself is what happens to you. I've watched it over and over and over again in my own life and with other people. When they talk poorly about themselves, or they snowball about a bad situation, it continues to compound on them, and they do find that things get worse. And if you will pull your head up and say, look, today seems crappy, but I am blessed because of these reasons, and I'm grateful for this, this, and this, your day tends to get better. And good things tend to find you if you're looking for them. So anyway, that's why I say that. There's another person that's in the mastermind, and if you ask her how she's doing, she says, it's a great day to be me, which I love. Most people just say good or okay or making it or You know, you're not very memorable for people if you do that also. If you say something out of the norm that people aren't going to be used to, and you are looking to be, I don't want to say notoriety, but remembered in that conversation by the other people, it's good to have a unique answer to that question because inevitably you're going to get asked it. But if it's something outside of the norm, they will remember you, and being more memorable it normally isn't a bad thing. We got K85. They say, Jake, legend. What's up, man? 750 by the end of the year. I want to believe you. Please help my unbelief. I got my ghost cup tonight. Spooky season is upon us. I don't know if you guys are into Halloween or not. My wife loves Halloween. So look, we're right here on the precipice of the reverse carry trade unwinding. I would say I'm extremely confident in $100 this year in 2025. $1,000, it's going to take the perfect storm to get that. And I made that bet because I'm confident that that could play out here. You know, I have a very high level of confidence that that's going to play out this year. But you know, again, it does require the perfect situation. But if you believe that things are set up and things are orchestrated at a higher level than we're aware of, it might just happen here in 2025. And if I am right on that bet, that'll be $3.5 million coming to yours truly. We got Sona. He says, or she says, Jake, thank you for all that you do. Respectfully, can you play the hits and tell us it's still possible for XRP to hit $1,000? I just did. Yeah, I completely believe that. I get a lot of people that say that this is like a marketing gimmick for me, or that I'm misleading people and it's good for our business and all these other things. Which you did look like I guess that's fair. You know, I mean, I want people to be prepared though for when it happens because it's going to. And I want to say I know that, but I kind of know that. So if I'm not telling you these things and you're not thinking that that's going to happen, how can you prepare for something that you are going to be surprised by? Right? It'd be very difficult. Like if you thought XRP was going to go to $10 and you like thought you were going to have this level of wealth and then it was 100 times more than that, it's a completely different tool set and things that you're going to be doing for $1,000 XRP versus a $10 XRP. You know what I mean? And I don't want people to be caught off guard or unprepared or in a situation where they're like, now what do I do? Or at least they didn't start educating themselves or believing that they could reach that level of wealth. I think that that's been probably one of the greatest things that XRP has given me is the belief that I would be extremely wealthy. I guess it gave me like permission. I mean, I did pretty well in 2021, but like in addition to that, it gave me permission to really dream bigger. And I think most people just reconcile themselves to a small life and small things because they think, well, you know, that's not possible for me. I'm just so and so, and I live here in small little town, da da da, and you know, that's not going to happen. So why even dream about it or think about it? But I can tell you that the larger that I've dreamed, the more that I've believed, the more faith that I've had, doors have opened up and good things have happened. Right. So even if it doesn't play out in the time frame that we've talked about here, which I again really truly believe it's going to, I think just that in of itself is giving yourself permission to dream that big and think about those things and the legacy that you want to leave and what you want to do with that type of money. I don't think it leads to disappointment. I think it leads you to, if you're the right type of person, it's going to lead you to the drive to be able to achieve that, right? Like you're going to want more, you're going to work more, you're excited about something, there's hope in the future. People that no longer have hope die slowly. Anyway, so that's what XRP has given me. more than anything else. And the money will be great. There'll be, a lot of opportunities for that. But I mean, really, like the ability to dream and the legacy that I want to leave, um, is probably the biggest gift that XRP and all this has given me. I've been reading a book. I want to say it's called. Actually, you know what? I can look it up here. Um, a member of the Mastermind sent this to me. Where is it? Uh, let's see. Here he is. It is called The Seven Generations Legacy. And there's a lady that's written that. I've got through the first two chapters of it, and it was like rough. She talks about her pregnancy, her second pregnancy with her second child, and how she almost died. And they'd had a lot of success in their businesses, and they had waited 7 years between having children. Anyway, like gut wrenching like situation, but she makes it through, and so does her child. And anyway, she talks about the legacy that you want to leave, and when you become aware of your mortality, like I don't people that have been close to death, and they've had the chance. I talked to a gentleman and his wife the other day. He got COVID really bad, and he was in the hospital, and they didn't think he was going to make it. And all he could think about when he was laying there was just all of the undone things that he was going to leave his family with. And so he's made it a priority since then to make sure that things are shored up. They've got trust in place. They've got all these things established, to make sure that, when and if he passes, his family's not left with a mess to clean up. And that really, resonates with, I think, a lot of people. Until you've had a parent pass away, or you yourself have experienced, a crisis in your life where you come close to death, and you have all of those loose ends looming. It's hard to really communicate that to people. But that's another benefit here. Like if you're thinking about legacy and the path that you want to leave, and like how you want to leave things for your family and how to set them up, it's not going to be worse for you. You know what I mean? It can only be better. So even if that ends up being the case, even if people got a small amount of XRP or digital assets, whatever it is, for them, that's a meaningful amount. If they start to think about these things and plan their legacy and their succession plan and generational wealth, however much they're going to be leaving their family, I think that's a big benefit for people in this community. All right, get off my soapbox and move on to the next thing. We got Brandon. He says, Jakey Poo. What's up, man? Eric Trump says, ETH, the choice number one. What do you say? I talked to Eric Trump not that long ago at Salt. Was there at the bar with him, had a few drinks. He likes XRP. I'll tell you that. And I'll just kind of leave it there. We got Jayhawk Nation, secretly Brad Garlinghouse, commenting in the live here. He said, as Rock Jock, Jayhawk. He says, hey, brother, me and my wife appreciate all that you do. We love to send you a couple command tokens from her ship USS Theodore Roosevelt. Wow, that's cool. Where should we send them? Email my team, and they will get you over to me. Just info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and they may give you an address, and they may pass it along to me. I don't really want to give out an address here publicly on the live, and I really do appreciate the sentiment. There's been a few other people that have sent me things, as time's gone on, which just blows my mind. I just want to say thank you to all the cool people that have sent me things over the years, and like either paid it forward to other people too. I don't do this for the money or the clout or anything. Like I really genuinely do want to help people, and I want people to start thinking through this stuff before price appreciation happens, and dreaming bigger for themselves and their family, and then have the tools and resources and understanding to be able to execute on that. Like that's the hard part. Everybody's a dog chasing a car, right? Like, you want the money. It's just, what do you do with it when you get it? How do you actually hold on to it and multiply it and protect it? Those are skills that you haven't really developed if you've never had large amounts of money before. So hopefully, some of the conversation here has inspired people to figure out what those tools and resources are, start to build a network of people around themselves. And again, that's why we have the mastermind group and everything that I've built. I'm not saying you got to work with me or join the mastermind. I'm just saying, start to codify those relationships and start to think through those things and educate yourself, because you are going to come into a lot of money if you're invested in the right assets. Super chat again. This person says, Jake, happy Monday. Happy Monday. How much did you bet that XRP would be $750 by the end of the year? Really appreciate your help. So just so you guys know, I do have a public bet that XRP will be $750 by December 31st at midnight of this year. I made that bet because the individual that I made the bet with had made a lot of other bets with other people that have XRP, and many people had lost XRP to this individual in their bets, for a total of about like 2,300 XRP. So that doesn't sound like a ton of XRP, but for some people that could be a lot of XRP. Not everybody's got a lot of money to throw around. They're scraping by paycheck to paycheck. They're scrambling to add just a little bit to their bag over here. And for him to take that from people, it just didn't sit right with me. And so I said, hey, look, how about double or nothing? And those people get paid back either way. So, you got to send those people all their stuff back, and I'll pay you double that amount of XRP if I lose. Or if I win, you send them their stuff back and then pay me the other half. So, if I'm right, it's about $20,000 worth of XRP today. If I'm right, it ends up being about $3.5 million at a $750 XRP. So the bet is in XRP. Which, people kept saying, well, put my money where my mouth was. Well, I did. I don't know if other people were like, that's not that much. Look, 20 grand is a lot of money for some people. Okay. And I've been really blessed in my life to be able to get enough XRP that I feel okay gambling that much. This person keeps asking about Web3. Whatever Web3 is and Web3 wallet is a scam. Do not send your money to it. It's a scam. People are impersonating me online and trying to get people to send their money there. Scam. Report, block would be my action items on that. All right. So anyway, that's where we're at on the bet, and we'll see. We got 3 months here. The clock is ticking. A lot of people are watching. We'll see if I'm right or not here in the next 90 days. Wake the fork up, Uncle Danny. I don't know where he's at tonight, but he says, part 2. Since we need liquidity and price appreciation, ideally before the reverse carry trade, doesn't have to be before the reverse carry trade. It could be, though. What happens if the reverse carry trade happens before price appreciation? Dang government shutdown, slowing down the ETFs. Part 2, once reverse carry trade happens, how long before XRP bounces back to save the day? Hold on. I don't know if this thing's not on or what's going on, but I didn't get anything from that. A crystal ball, I have no idea, my man. I just know that these are the catalysts that are going to be at play. If I knew exactly how it was going to play out, I would have options and shorts and puts and all kinds of stuff in place to be able to capture every piece as it unfolded. I'm not that smart. I just know what the end game is. I don't know in what order things unfold. I can see the dominoes. I can see how things are set up. But for me to guess, is this going to happen before that happens? And when's this going to be? I'm going to be wrong no matter what I say on that stuff. All of this is event driven, right? And you can do the math. I'm sure that there's some crazy math problem with all the variables that could work through exactly what you're talking about here. I am not a quant or a mathematician. I did take calculus and did really well in that. But when it came to like trigonometry, sine, cosine, tangent, and the like, what is it? I think it was like 42 different variations of that you could put in equations. That's not my game. High level math is I'm okay at, but I'm not a quant. So there's no way I could like work out, at what point XRP is going to bounce back. I could pontificate on the play out of that scenario for hours and still be way off when it actually happens. I just know at the end of it, XRP is a much higher price than it is today. So if you're trying to catch a falling knife, it's not a game I'm going to play, right? I would rather just dollar cost average and know what the end game is, and build other things that are bets around it. And this kind of goes to the deal, back to the business. I've literally built my entire business on this idea culminating. All the other family offices and everybody else in this space deals with Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin goes back to 20K. This person's asked how they join the mastermind. Just go to beyondbroke.com, use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, also capitalized, gets you the first month for $2. They're in social apartment 1. What was I saying? I got caught off guard there. Well, I don't know. I've lost it. It's late in the day. We're just going to move on to the next question here. We got Little Jack. Is that like Little John? But I don't know. Is it your rap name? It's cool. All right. I say no crypto question. Just how are you mentally and physically? You are appreciated, living legend. Appreciate that, man. I'm pretty good these days, actually. Everybody goes through rough times on stuff. I will say this. I think I'm getting better at coping with large amounts of stress as a CEO. We've got 7 portfolio companies, and that kind of takes me back to the other thing. So again, I've literally built every business that we have on the premise that XRP is going to much, much higher prices. All the other family offices and wealth managers are focused on Bitcoin and ETH. I think it's going back to $20,000 per Bitcoin. I told my team today, I'm like, I'm not focused on aggregating Bitcoin at all. I think if, we got AUM on that side, it would just get cut in like 1/5 in the very near future. Just the same way Bitcoin was exacerbated on the way up and we saw all-time high before the halving. I think it's going to be exacerbated on the way down. People that are invested in the ETFs are not hodlers. They're not here for, long term. They're just here to make money on the upside, and people will also short it on the way down. There's more vehicles to be able to do that now, including futures, right? And that was why we saw the top in 2017 for Bitcoin was the day they launched the CME. It topped at around $20,000 for Bitcoin. So again, I think that's where it's going to pull back to. Michael Saylor was actually on a podcast the other day, and he said if companies decided to adopt another network and it was not Bitcoin, the real value of Bitcoin is around $5,000 of Bitcoin per retail. Like if it was just adopted by retail and not institutions and hedge funds and investment firms and all the other stuff, and that institutional liquidity wasn't in it, it would only be worth $5,000. And I think he's right on that. Like, I think that's really the intrinsic value of Bitcoin. I think a lot of it's just pumped up because of the narrative that it's digital gold and the limited supply and all the other stuff that's out there about it. Not that it's not good and not that it wasn't the first mover and all the other things, right? Like, I understand Bitcoin in much more detail. And that's how I can argue against it or for it. I could argue for Bitcoin if I wanted to. I just think the opportunity on XRP is significantly greater than any other asset at this time. I actually had a client call me the other day and they said, "Hey, I got a big, purchase that I'm going to make, 7 figures. Do you think I should put it in Bitcoin, gold, or XRP?" And I said, "Well, gold is going to top here pretty soon. I think $4,000 gold. is probably the top. And then Bitcoin, I think, may have just topped here at 125. Maybe it goes a little bit more, like 140, 150. But I don't see it going any higher than that this cycle. Um, and again, there's a lot of people out there telling you it's going to $250,000 or $1,000,000, whatever. XRP's upside is significantly higher. This person says, I used to own XRP. The community is scammy, always posting fake news to pump price. Retail can't control XRP's price, my man. Like, if we could, we would have moved it from 50 cents. The only people that are moving XRP's price are institutions at this point. And that's why we're seeing sustained buy volumes here at $3. This isn't retail. So it doesn't matter what the community does or other influencers or any, like, I can't influence the price of XRP. The market cap's $130 billion at this point. Now, if I get my way in the next 30 days, I will be able to manipulate XRP's price. This person says retail never moved the price, but they always posted fake news. Well, you just said to manipulate the price. Like, that was what you said, fake news to pump the price, like 2 posts above that. So which is it? Like, are you just grumpy that it didn't move for a long time and you didn't make any money on it? Maybe you missed out on some other tokens. And like, I can get that. I can get that. I mean, it stayed sideways for a long time, and there were a lot of other opportunities that I missed out on, and many other people in the community missed out on, because we did have such high conviction. Okay, you made a 10x on it, man. Why are you talking? He said I bought it at 20 cents and sold it at $2. You crushed it, and now you're calling it a scam. Why? Like, I don't understand people like you. That doesn't make any sense. I 10x my money on something and it's a scam. I mean, I guess there's other, like, meme coins that are scams. So okay, fair point. I guess fair play. I think you're gonna regret that one, my man. I could be wrong. Again, just some guy on the internet. But if you sold it at $2, I feel like you're gonna feel like Bitcoin if you sold it at, $50 or $100. I think there's a lot more in it left in the tank. He says AVAX and Link. I mean, I like both of those. Those are in my top 6. People have asked me what my top 7 portfolio is. Both those are in it. I think XRP has so much greater potential than anything else in the market. If you understand, go here. I mean, you can take my word for it, but I would go look at. I have videos on the domino theory. You seem like a reasonable individual. You seem pretty sharp. Go watch that. And on the move, actual use case. XRP has the largest use case of any crypto. Period. I would say Link is a good oracle, and they do have CCIP, and AVAX has subnets, and I mean we've met with both of their teams. I know many people that work at both of those companies. What do you think about Swift creating their own blockchain? More of a marketing gimmick. I mean, I literally read the shareholders release from Ripple CEO, and I guess you could take that with a grain of salt too, because he's going to say stuff that's going to coincide with their narrative that they are going to take over Swift. But he said that they didn't even view Swift as a competitor anymore. I think Swift is going to adopt R3 as their partner to be able to facilitate the private blockchain. That way, transactions aren't out there on a public blockchain. And they will use Hedera for the security around the messaging. And they will use Link for the oracles and the smart contracts to be able to build in contingency-based smart contracts for the transactions of Swift. But they still need settlement, and XRP is going to provide the liquidity and the settlement layer for Swift. So it'll be an amalgamation. And actually, I have a full video on that too if you want to go watch it. All right, back to the super chats over here. We got Seth the Great. He says, do you provide institutional custody for quant? We sure do. And then LGND. Not sure what LGND is. If it's an EVM-based token, yes, we would provide institutional custody there at Anchorage at Digital Wealth Partners for both of those. But again, I'm for sure on quant. Yes, we do. The other one, I don't know what that is, so not sure if we do or not. And that's the other thing. I'll tell you, if I don't know something, like, I'll just be honest and be like, it's not my game. We got BFL4U2. They say, hey, Jake, I'm 50 years old and looking to retire early. I like that. So you can travel, spend time with grandbabies, and do other fun stuff. Maybe you have grandbabies. I don't know if you do or not. How would you play my 401k situation? Buy the ETFs and hold for the Rule 55, or opt for SEP withdrawals, or go nuclear, liquidate, and buy XRP? Thanks for your opinion. Oh, this is a great question for our wealth advisors over there at Digital Wealth Partners, ma'am. Well, you didn't say ma'am or sir, so I'm not sure what your gender is. I will keep it neutral. So I apologize if I was wrong on that. I would. I mean, you're in a unique spot, right? If you're trying to retire early, and you're already 50, inside of the tax deferred or tax free accounts via a Roth or a SEP, there's a benefit there, right? Especially if it's a Roth, it could grow tax free inside of that account and compound over the next, 5-6 years. Well, actually, if you're 50, it'd be another 9 years. You'd be 59 and a half before you could take tax free withdrawals with no penalty. But you want to have fun and do stuff now, right? You're also very limited with qualified accounts on your ability to margin those assets or borrow against them and use the infinite banking concept. Can't tell you what to do. I also don't know how much money you have in there, and I don't know how long it's been in there. There's a lot of different constraints here that would be difficult for me to give you like a real clear answer on. And again, this is why our wealth managers and our CFPs over there at Digital Wealth Partners would be a much better option to ask this question to than myself, because they're going to be able to ask you all of those questions and like give you full discernment on how to play it. I personally, and I'm much younger than you, did liquidate my IRA, but I did it when XRP was like 30 cents. So 10 times less than what it is today. And I just paid the taxes and penalties on it. It wasn't a ton of money at the time. It was like $50,000. So in the XRP that I had. So, and you can take it in kind, and you don't have to take out the taxes immediately. Also, if you do it that way, you have options. You have a lot of options. I would encourage you to go talk to somebody on our team. And again, not trying to sell our services. I just don't want to give you poor information or misspeak or financial advice without, I'd really need to know all the different constraints that were around your situation to give you a clear understanding of what would be best for you. So I don't mean to, again, sound like a cop out or anything. I really do appreciate the super chat. There's a lot there that I don't have the information on. Fly Fishing Jeremy, he says, please explain the Lightning Network compared to the XRPL for Bitcoin Maxi Friend. Like, join, subscribe, the Mastermind, disclaimer, thank you for everything. So the Lightning Network is a layer 2 on Bitcoin. It locks up the Bitcoin. It allows you to exchange value over that network to settle much faster when trading Bitcoin, to be able to then unlock the underlying asset and exchange whatever you're holding on that layer 2 for the underlying asset. Very similar to like Polygon or Matic for Ethereum. It's not really scalable. Where the TPS on is still far less than 1,500. And the XRPL, kind of max TPS or transactions per second is limited to about 1,500 transactions per second, which is not scalable for Visa or MasterCard or a lot of the other applications that many people would like XRP to be used for. You're going to need an implicit or explicit subnet on the XRPL, which, Bob Wade just happens to have a patent for. To be able to scale it to the level of throughput that's going to be required for a lot of these institutional applications and markets. So, if you think about MasterCard or Visa, there's 30,000 transactions per second. Bitcoin's never going to get to that amount. It's not going to matter what the layer 2 is or how it's put together. It's not built, and it doesn't have the functionality, and that needs to also be on the layer 1. They're not going to want a Band-Aid or a secondary network that's going to be exchanging collateral value that you could swap for later. They need actual settlement between the counterparties of whatever's being, swapped. You can't issue assets on Bitcoin either. You can do, they have ordinals where they like etch something in one of the sats on a Bitcoin. It's a crude way of creating an NFT. They've just tried to adapt what's available on that blockchain to the different things that have happened over time. And kudos to the people that have figured that stuff out. Like, it is cool stuff, runes and ordinals and stuff that they have. It's just, it's the first mover. It's like the Netscape. You know what I mean? Like, Netscape is not Google. It was never going to be Google. MySpace is not Facebook. It was never going to be Facebook. It got to market. It has brand recognition. A lot of people understand, the supply dynamic of Bitcoin and the value proposition that it has. But it's not. And actually, Satoshi's vision was a peer-to-peer payment system that was, frictionless and removed banks or intermediaries. But when they didn't increase the block size and they decided to fork it to Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin, they really kind of killed Satoshi's original vision for Bitcoin. And since then, they've just, pushed it toward this narrative around digital gold, which fine. Like, I get that. And again, I think a fair market value for Bitcoin is $5,000 or $20,000. Somewhere in that range, I think, is a fair market value. Just, it doesn't have the same value proposition, and it doesn't have the same ability to be able to scale for financial products and markets like the XRPL does with side chains and the subnet that I do believe is going to be imposed on the network. That'll be alongside the layer one. It's not like it's a layer two or a band-aid on top of it. And you need interoperability for settlement. You need a DEX. There's just a lot of things. And again, like compliance pieces, you've got digital identity, you've got credentials, you've got, just a lot of things going for the XRPL that Bitcoin cannot do. And you're never going to have smart contract capability on Bitcoin's network. And there's not like a side chain or a subnet or other stuff on Bitcoin's network. It's not built for that. Mike Mitchell, they say, what are the negatives of having an S Corp instead of an LLC? My XRP is with Anchorage. How can I make sure that the XRP held over the year is one being used? How can I make sure that the XRP held over a year is the one being used if I sell some? You would use FIFO on your accounting, which is actually what's required. At this point, you can't use HIFO or LIFO anymore. So it's just an accounting deal. When you go to sell the XRP, it would be the first in, first out. So the longest held are the ones that get sold first. It's the way that you do the accounting for that at the end of the year. Now back to the benefits or drawbacks of an S Corp versus an LLC. So both of those have pass-through taxation. Both of them have limited liability. LLCs have equity units where S Corps have stock. So if you are going to do like an ESOP, or you do want to sell the corporation to another individual, an S Corp can be a good choice because you're able to issue options and some other things with an S Corp that you're not able to do with an LLC with equity units. They tend to be better for actual functioning businesses. The drawback to an S Corp versus an LLC is an S Corp cannot be owned by anybody other than an individual. So like if you wanted to use a C Corp to own an S Corp, can't do that. If you wanted to use a trust to own an S Corp, can't do that. And that's why an LLC tends to be a better, solution if you want to maintain anonymity and structure things to mitigate taxes a little bit more efficiently and don't have your personal name tied to things. Again, we set up Wyoming LLCs for people. You got, charging order protection there in Wyoming. You have attorney-client privilege for anonymity there in Wyoming. It has the most favorable, regulation around digital assets. They're the most progressive of any state when it comes to crypto. No state taxes there in Wyoming. There's a lot of things.
Tell TikTok.
I'm real. What am I saying?
That it's alive.
Oh, what's alive?
It's a live stream.
Oh, this is a live stream. That's the tea lady. She commented on here. So be nice, or I'm going to be mean. Anyway, so that's a lot of the reasons you don't want to use an S corp. The other reason if you don't want to use an S corp versus an LLC is if you do get sued by a creditor and somebody comes after you, and if you're holding assets inside of an S corp, they can take control of the stock or the shares in the company, liquidate those assets, pay themselves back, and then give you the worthless shares. Not ideal. In an LLC, the equity units prevent that from happening. So again, most of the time when you're holding assets, you want to use an LLC here in the US. When you're managing something, you could use an S corp if you don't want to use like a living trust or have something else on the cap table, and you're okay with holding it in your personal name and having your personal name associated with it on public documents. They're all tools, right? You just need to understand how the tools work together and what they're used for, and the drawbacks or benefits to using them in different applications. We work with corporate attorneys, right? Like we have business law. I was on a call with them earlier today on structuring some of our businesses and how to move forward with some things. So, I would recommend using a corporate attorney if you don't understand a lot of this stuff. I can tell you this: there are a lot of reasons why we structure things the way that we structure them, and we have a path, that's like, I don't want to say to the promised land, but like well thought through on how this is actually structured from the beginning to give you the best opportunity for long-term success. So, using the LLC as a holding company, registered in Wyoming, to manage alternative investments with a sleeve in digital assets. It's not a trading company. It's under NAICS code 551112 or 551114. That's only going to be important when you talk to the bank, the IRS, and nobody else is really going to ask you for an NAICS code. But again, we've set up 4,000 LLCs for people at this point. There's a very strong reason we do it the way that we do it, through a single member LLC or a family limited partnership to mitigate taxes on the way in. The reason we structure it from the beginning with the digital assets, we do it as a capital contribution so that there's no tax implications. Everything that we've done has been methodically put together. And if you want to work with us on the LLC, we'd love to work with you. If you don't want to work with us and you want to use another attorney, that's your prerogative. You're more than welcome to do so. They're going to charge you at least as much as we do, probably more. Just for the operating agreement alone, most attorneys to draft it for a digital asset holding company is going to be somewhere between $1,800 and $2,500. We do everything end to end, including the corporate veil service, registered agent, EIN, certificate of good standing, template for the operating agreement, and a bunch more stuff for just $2,000. We price it at $4,000 on our website, but if you want it for $2,000, you can use the code 50OFF50 OFF DAG LLC. That's 50 OFF DAG LLC. Get you everything end to end for the LLC to be able to manage your digital assets the way that you want to over the long term. And again, gives you the most flexibility and benefit to be able to mitigate taxes and for your estate planning. We got Joshua. He said, Mr. Legend, what's up? He says, funny question. Instead of functional stuff, what are your thoughts about the riddles associated with XRP and Ripple? Do you trust the bear? I love the bear. I have been here a long time, Joshua. I've been here for 5 years. And I have watched every Christmas riddle get posted. I have looked at all of the other Pigpen cipher accounts associated with the riddles. There's a lot more to that than people really understand most of the time. But I do take it all with a grain of salt. It's kind of the icing on the cake for me. I've seen enough and heard enough and had enough conversations to know for sure how this plays out. But there's a lot of clues They're in those cartoons and in those tweets, and also on the Reddit posts, that if you took the time to research things, you would be able to find a lot of breadcrumbs that would lead you to the same conclusions. A lot of stuff that I've talked about and have been telling people for a year and a half. The most recent Christmas riddle that he put out, you have a clam with a pearl in it on the road to the harbor. Pearl Harbor, Japan, US, reverse carry trade. Like, it goes way back, very deep. You also have the bear dressed up as a cowboy riding a horse. Texas Stock Exchange is coming here in 2026. We will be at an event with the Texas Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, Goldman, the Texas Blockchain Council, and Texas NASDAQ here this week at TexCon on Wednesday, speaking with them. So, tokenization of stocks. You've had the NASDAQ apply for tokenization with the SEC at this point. All of that is coming. The financial center of the US 2026 and beyond, Dallas, Texas, my man. And that was foretold way before that announcement was even a thing. So if you're paying attention, the green road in that riddle is also hidden, kind of like a hidden road, kind of like an acquisition that Ripple made not too long ago this year. And again, was not public information at all when that post was posted. Anyway, you can read into it as much as you want or as little as you want to. Take it with a grain of salt. I like I said, it's the icing on the cake for me. Mr. Nimbus, he says, hey, Jake, I'm a college freshman and a U.S. resident. Awesome, dude. I invested my savings into 5,000 XRP. Hold or rotate into other assets. Much love from Bangladesh. Just hodl, my man. Well, look, I can't give you financial advice. You do what you think is best for you and your family and your long-term success. I'll tell you this. I wish I had bought Bitcoin when I was a freshman in college. And what you're holding right now is exactly like buying Bitcoin in 2010 for me. Okay. I wish that I had held Bitcoin in 2010. And again, maybe I'm salty. Maybe I'm jealous of the Bitcoin people. You say whatever you want. I just, look, the ROI on this is significantly greater than what Bitcoin is at this point. And so, again, that's the reason I'm positioned where I am versus the other. We got I lift to roll. Are you in jujitsu? That'd be interesting. It says Neo, the one in the Matrix. If I were to do an LLC through your company, could you describe the process and how I move XRP into the LLC from the Decent biometric cold wallet? Still unclear. You don't have to move it anywhere, my man. That's the beauty of how we do it. You don't have to buy another device. You don't have to send it anywhere. All you do is use the wallet address itself as the capital contribution to start the business. As a single member LLC, there's no step up in basis. There's no change in time frame held of the assets when you contribute them to exchange that for the equity in the corporation. So basically, you're just listing those assets as the assets that you are contributing to the company to start it. That wallet, that XRP, that amount of XRP, the dollar amount, the day you transferred it in there, you just get that puppy notarized and you're good to go. I have made it as simple and easy as possible for people. Other people want to make it complicated. That's not my game. I like things simple and easy where people can understand them. Fivefold nutrition. They say, is XRP in 401k account a great way to participate in price appreciation? There's no way that you currently have XRP in your 401k account. It's not a thing. They did just recently make it available for people to participate in digital assets inside their 401k. So unless you're, and you could be aware of something that I'm not, I'm not the end all be all. I don't know everything. But I will say, all the providers that we talk to, like Schwab and Fidelity and Altruist and many of the other people out there, don't have that capability yet. So what I'm going to assume, and maybe when you assume, you make out an ass out of you and me. So if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong here. But I'm going to assume that you're saying that you are buying futures ETFs on XRP, like XXRP, inside your 401k. You're really not going to get the same. That's meant to be traded. It's not meant to just hold like a spot ETF. It's not going to trade at the NAV, net asset value of the underlying asset. It's leverage, right? So, you could actually trade below the NAV if you just held it in there and you didn't swap or trade that on the perpetual futures and the way that that's structured. So, if you do think that this is a good time to go long XRP, which I would agree with that. Then yeah, you could actually capitalize on double the gains of XRP, but you would want to sell it on the other side of that run, especially if it were to stabilize and hold price stability for an extended period of time. It's going to underperform at that point and trade below the NAV if you didn't execute while you had the leverage on it and the additional upside. So, up to you. I think that's what you mean by inside of your 401k, because we don't have spot ETFs available yet. But I could be off with that. Maybe you are aware of a solution that I don't know about. We got Hampton. Man, interesting name. Would you remake the 20K bet right now if you hadn't already made it? Same conviction fully. What things are still bullish compared to things you might have turned less likely since you made the bet? Even more bullish, my man. Way more bullish than when I made the bet. I am more bullish every single day that things are going to happen by the end of the year. I had a high conviction when I made the bet, but I am even more convicted than I was earlier in the year. We got Clint. He says, "Hey Jake, 3 months new to the Mastermind. Awesome, dude. Thanks for being in there. Love to have it." He says, "Love it. Thanks for everything that you do. Given the current situation, what is your percentage of conviction that XRP will hit $100 by the end of the year? 70, 80? I'm going to go 99.999999999 on $100 XRP. The $4 digit XRP would probably be a little bit less than that. Still be very high conviction, greater than 80%. But 3-digit XRP, I could not be more confident on a 3-digit XRP by the end of the year. Matt, he says, "Jake, my man, not sure how the Swift drama will play out. Not worried about it at all. I think everybody's way overreacting to that. I hear JP Morgan trying to fugazi blockchain, although Brad bumps elbows with Trump. I don't know of any other crypto CEO doing that. Keep the faith. Always appreciate you." Like I said, I read a shareholders letter in there in the Mastermind, people. So if you want access to cool stuff like that, Carbon One is where it's at. You're going to get more, I don't want to say insider info because it's not insider info, but cool stuff that other people aren't going to get to see than any other community out there, period, if you are in Carbon One. So again, if you want to check out the Mastermind, get in there for $2. You just use the code BeyondBroke. I'll capitalize the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in the Carbon One of the Mastermind. And if you don't like it, cancel. It's $2. It's month to month. It is $100 a month. Just full transparency. It's $100 a month after that. So if you stay in there, it is $100 a month. But I do my absolute best to make sure that you always get it at least that much value, if not significantly more, there in Carbon One. We got Anxious to Alpha. They say, "Hey Jake, someone, not me, has around 15,000 XRP. What's the best advice you could give on what to do after price appreciation? I know 15 isn't enough to work with you, unfortunately. Thanks for the video." I guess it all just depends on what price it goes to. It could very well be enough to work with us. If XRP goes to $1,000, that's $1.5 million, which is over our threshold for sure. If we had a $300 XRP, well, yeah, like a $340 XRP, that would be over the $500,000 mark, which is our minimum. So it's not that it's not enough to work with us. It's just dependent on price appreciation. And again, if we get anything close to what I'm talking about, you will be there, my man or lady. Not sure which you are. I always, pick one or the other. Um, but yeah, I would just continue to DCA if unless you've met your goal, if that was your dream amount of XRP, cool. Everybody's got a different long-term vision, and everybody's in a different place in their life to be able to afford how much they can invest. There's no wrong or right amount to invest. I know people that have 200 XRP. I know people that have 40 million XRP. Okay, yeah, individuals. So and everything in between there. I have a very unique vantage point on the variety of people that own large amounts of XRP and very small amounts of XRP. And if you own it at all, you are one in a million people. There's probably about 1 million retail that has some exposure to XRP across all the different platforms. Maybe even less than that, to be honest with you. There's 7 million wallets. Most people have multiple wallets or exchange accounts and other stuff. So maybe let's call it 500,000 people that own, some XRP. Well, call it more than 2,000 XRP. Half a million people. There's 8 billion people on the planet, my man or lady. Like you're to be here, to have any allocation to it, you're way above and way beyond the general population. So you're doing great if you got 15,000 XRP. If you have any XRP, you're doing much better than anybody, like most other people, for sure. I walk around in public with an XRP shirt on. There might be one, if I pass like 4,000 or 5,000 people, there might be one person that's like, oh man, I see you. They don't even know who I am. They have no idea who I am, why I'm wearing that shirt. They just think I'm a regular dude. And I'd like to keep it that way. I'm very happy about that situation currently. Hoping it stays that way. I don't think it's going to if we get some of the stuff done that I think we're going to get done. We're already an hour and 20 minutes in. We're going to hang out for another 40 minutes, and I'm going to try to get through all of the super chats tonight. We're going to go quickly. So I apologize if I don't ramble on, like I normally do. We got Anthony Brewer. They say, Jake, do you work with people with 50K worth of XRP? I can't talk about what's coming in the future. Today, we do not, but we're working on solutions. So we'll see what plays out in the near future. We did drop a few times to 50,000 on a couple promotions, but today it is 100,000. We got John. He says, John Shook. Okay. Appreciate you laying that out for me, because I was going to butcher that. He says, I understand that you charge your fees, AUM 2% for less than 5 million. Are the percentages you pay to the clients the institutional custody based on LTV or AUM? Thank you for all that you do. The yield product that we're going to be launching in the near future is going to pay somewhere between 3 and 5%. And it will do more than enough to cover the fees associated for what we charge. And a long-term goal is, as the asset appreciates and we continue to grow our AUM, our costs will come down, and obviously costs will come down for clients, especially if as their assets grow. So, again, today we're in a situation where I'm just barely in the black on just transparency. We're hiring aggressively at DWP right now. And any profit that we did have is gone because I want to make sure that we have enough capacity and people, and good people. I can't hire just Joe Blow off the street that just got their 65 anymore. We have to have good qualified people to come over and provide really good financial advice and help people. So they're not cheap, and do have to incentivize them to work and cover their paychecks and all that stuff. So anyway, it's not on LTV or AUM. It is whatever products you're invested in. So we're going to have a wide variety of products. We already have the only 2 products available in the US that are regulated secure to be able to generate returns on your XRP. If you're accredited, we have, again, $250 million worth of XRP being put to work right now, generating returns for our clients. But we will have other yield generating products, kind of like a CD for your XRP. in the very near future here in Q4. I'm hoping, beginning of Q4, but that's not up to me. It's up to our partners. So, yeah, and again, as the assets appreciate, AUM fees come down. Over 5 million drops to 50 basis points. Over 10 million, it drops to 40 basis points. And again, if we're making you 4% on your 10 million and you're paying 40 bips, you're making 10 times the amount you're paying us. You keep 9, it'd be 1/10. We would charge 1/10 of what you're making, basically, if it's 4%. And we plan on being able to make you at least 8% is our mandate. We do charge performance fees, but not until we make you at least 8% in addition to the appreciation on your assets. So we never take any performance fees, and we never will, on any of the appreciation of the assets, only on the other products and services that we provide for you guys to generate additional returns beyond the appreciation of the assets. I've structured this in a way where we probably won't charge performance fees, at least this year. Well, unless we get, the growth fund makes that 30 or 40% in 1 month. I think people would be happy to pay, a little bit if we made them 40% more XRP in 1 month. Hurricane, they say, hey, Jake, I have an LLC, need to get the operating agreement notarized, but half my XRP in a loan is in my personal name, not the LLC. Is that okay? If not, can it be fixed? You would need to document it correctly. That's a question for Laughlin. Yeah, so our paralegal group that we work with to be able to maintain the corporate veil, that's who I would, you're already going to be working with them. If you set up the LLC with us, you get your operating agreement notarized, and they would be able to, give you discernment on the best way to structure that to make sure that you are within compliance and you're not commingling personal and business assets to be able to allow somebody to pierce the corporate veil. Mary Baker, did you say that you don't buy off Amazon for Tangem Cold Wallet? Do not buy off Amazon. Only buy from the manufacturer on any cold wallets. Please, please, please listen to me here. All of that can be corrupted. All of it can be manipulated, and they will take your stuff. Please, and I know you're like, well, it's more expensive. Look, if it's another $50, even if it's another $100, and you have hundreds of thousands of dollars on your cold wallet, believe me, it's worth the extra $100 to make sure that nobody's going to hack you and take your stuff. So I don't have like a code or anything for Tangem. I like Tangem, but yeah, please buy it off their official site and not off Amazon or eBay. We got Michael again. He says, when are the funds with monthly returns going online? Also, IRA return products. No funds with monthly returns, but we will have yield products here in Q4 along with the IRA return products. I have berating is not the right word. I'm pretty like negotiable and reasonable most of the time, but I am getting pretty frustrated with the timelines on a lot of this stuff, and it's not all our team's fault. We have a lot of partnerships involved, and business moves slow, man. I'm used to like crypto. Go, right? Traditional finance is like a glacier, the speed at which some of these people move. So anyway, frustrating, but things are coming together here. Hopefully in the next 30 days is what I'm pushing for. There you go. This person says code BRAVE for $20 off Arculus. Cool. I like Arculus. We got, again, I like decent better than Arculus, but a cold wallet is a cold wallet as long as it's not Ledger. We got Jeremy. He says legend, lifetime lifter here. What's up, dude? Your 405 squat PR is most impressive, sir. Also, what do you think about the real token built on the XRPL over a Christmas Magnetic Exchange, XMAS, I don't know what that says. I haven't ever heard of it. I would have to research it to give you any like real understanding. I don't know what it is. I'm assuming real could be like real estate. That'd be my guess. If I was just going to throw one out there, I do think that you're going to have real estate on the XRPL. I think that NFTs are issued on the XRPL already. Look, there's not going to be one blockchain to rule them all. Okay. But the Pareto principle is going to happen. If you don't know what that is, that's the 80-20 rule. It's the same thing Google has, right? Like 80% of all search is done through Google. And the other 20% is fought over by other people. So I know that the XRPL is going to get at least 80% of all of the back-end payments and settlements globally. Makes sense that it would be the backbone for everything. If you want one standardized, homogeneous solution for that, like treasury bills are today and the US bond market. So I think it's probably 100% over the XRPL for finality and settlement, but maybe it's just 80%. Even if it's 80%, it is so much money, and that includes real estate and other financial products and markets. Again, pentillions of dollars in market cap for people that have a hard time understanding that. NL says, hey, Mr. Jake, I greatly appreciate the insights you provide. What are your thoughts on Eric Trump expectations with Bitcoin and not speaking on XRP? I talked to Eric Trump not that long ago at a bar at Salt about XRP. Publicly, he just talked about XRP. He knows Brad. He likes, yeah. Look, he is part of American Bitcoin. He's involved with that, him and his brothers. And then I've met the CEO of American Bitcoin also. We were in DC. We walked around and talked to the senators together because he's on the digital chamber. Like, I know all these people. I talk to them in person. So again, like I'm just some guy on the internet. You don't have to listen to me. You should make your own decisions. Justin Kincaid says we need $650. Wake up, Uncle Danny. I love that. Love that in the mastermind too. It's good to see you guys in there. We got Chomp. He says, Jake, the stake. Most ETFs land late October, but doesn't the real heat kick in November? Curious if October's just the preheat and the feast, and we feast next month. What's your take, brother? I think Q4 this year is going to be fireworks, my man. I think all of Q4 could be fireworks. Mike, Big Mike, he says, Jake, social member here. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you in the mastermind. He says, thanks for all the great info. Is it important to have an LLC set up prior to price appreciation? Any pitfalls for setting up post price appreciation? Any benefit to wrapping the LLC in a trust? Three good questions there. So why would you do it beforehand? Well, you're going to season in bank accounts. You're going to season in the creditor protection on the LLC. You're going to have everything set up so you're not rushing around last minute, making mistakes because you're emotional, excited. You want to be proactive on this stuff. And you can wait till post price appreciation. If you have a larger amount of XRP, I would highly recommend being very proactive, potentially setting up a trust like you talked about, and it's not wrapping it in a trust. If you set up an LLC, you can have ownership. An asset protection trust can own the LLC, but it's not inside the trust. I know that sounds confusing. You can set up an LLC inside of the trust also, which provides a credit chassis and a ability to be able to margin things or borrow against stuff or work with a credit facility with the trust. Trusts have a hard time with banks unless they have an LLC inside of them. But ownership of an LLC and a trust being inside in the trust, an LLC being inside of a trust versus the ownership of an LLC by a trust are two different things. I'd have to draw it out for you, which I'm happy to do. You probably want both. You probably want an LLC inside of your trust and an LLC outside of your trust, both holding your XRP. Here's the deal with trusts in the US. Any income inside of a trust that's over $15,000 is taxed at 37.5%. Not fun. But if you have an LLC outside of the trust that the trust owns, you can pass that taxation to that LLC. So now, let's say it was $250,000, instead of being taxed at 37.5%, now you're at like 24%. And you can still use all the things at the LLC level to be able to mitigate taxes, so other expenses to be able to, have write-offs against that income. And if you're generating additional returns on the assets inside that LLC and inside the trust, you can use those returns in the LLC to pay for those taxes, or you could have to sell off a portion of your XRP there, but you're compounding XRP inside the trust at a faster rate. So it's a way of like over time transferring the XRP inside the trust. It's not exactly that way, but it's through a tax mechanism and compounding. So again, there's a lot of benefits to doing it that way. Some people may or may not want to complete the gift. There's 3 different types of protection that you get for trust. You get, an asset protection trust gives you creditor protection, probate protection, and there's also, potentially gifting out of your taxable estate and making it non-grantor or grantor in that transition. Again, I know enough to be dangerous. We work with tax attorneys and estate planners that are the best in the business on this stuff. Pitfalls for setting it up post price appreciation, making mistakes, rushing around, not having a bank account that's seasoned in to be able to, send profits to or income to without it getting flagged or frozen. Yeah, all that stuff. Josh, I've talked to you, my man. Why are you going to come on my stuff and call it a scam? I'm not going to say anything about the common law trusts and the stuff that you do. I'm going to take the high road, my man. Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Japan's next reverse carry trade unwinding is October. So that's when they're supposed to raise interest rates at their meeting here. That's what worries me. If you're confident, yeah, I'm excited. I think that things are finally going to play out here. We got great views. It says, hi, Jake. What self-directed IRA company do you recommend? Digital Wealth Partners. We're happy to work with you on a self-directed IRA to be able to buy crypto. You do need a larger amount. We need at least $500,000 in total portfolio value, and that can be in assets inside of the IRA and outside of the IRA. And it could also be traditional assets if you have a 401k or if you have other stock portfolio, bonds, whatever it is. As long as it's $500,000 in total portfolio value, including traditional assets that you bring over, we can absolutely work with you to be able to buy digital assets inside of your IRA. We've got dog and cat is true because cat. Makes sense. Yeah, perfect math equation there. Oh, and dog is false. Okay. When ETFs start, is this likely to start the reverse carry trade? And does that start this month or next month? Thanks for that. The ETFs have nothing to do with reverse carry trade. There's not, that doesn't do anything for that. The reverse carry trade is, there's been literally like more than $10 trillion borrowed from the Bank of Japan in yen and then put to work in other markets after converting to whatever currency would have been required to participate. And now that the rates there are going up, people are getting antsy. A lot of those are variable rate loans, and many of them are coming due. And so, in order for them to roll them and things to still be profitable, the interest rates on the U.S. Treasuries has to outweigh the bonds there in Japan. And as their currency appreciates against the dollar, you kind of get double whammy on the interest rate on the loan, and then in addition to the swap between the two currencies in the FX market. So, when we raise rates aggressively there in Japan to be able to mitigate the inflation off of the oil crisis that I think is coming, that's when we're going to see the rotation out of U.S. Treasuries into Japanese bonds, and that's the reverse carry trade piece of it. ETFs are just the way that they're going to be able to streamline liquidity into XRP to be able to push it to the price required to be able to use it. We got R. Montoya. TikTok died, so apologize for that. We're gonna hang out for another 15 minutes anyway. He says, keep killing it, man. I'm using Coinbase and want to know if this is a good place to keep my XRP until I have enough to go to you. Still fairly new. Coinbase is notorious for screwing people. I've told them that to their face multiple times. They don't really like that, but it's true. They didn't give anybody their Bitcoin Cash when they should have given all of their people that were holding Bitcoin on their platform Bitcoin Cash. They still haven't given anybody their Songbird. Fred Recipoli's still in a lawsuit with Coinbase to be able to get the Songbird for people that they were supposed to give it to. Coinbase is going to do what's in their best interest always, period. So if there's a situation where holding XRP or keeping it from you or paying you the cash value on your XRP becomes advantageous to them, they will absolutely do it. And they're a publicly traded company. I don't think they're going to go bankrupt or collapse or go anywhere, but they do have full ability to screw you out of your XRP if it's on their platform. So up to you after learning that information. If you want to keep it there, that's your prerogative. I use Coinbase and most other exchanges like public restrooms. I get in there, I do my business, I get out. Okay. Same way I use Tether. If I'm going to have to use Tether to make payment or do something, it is a public restroom. I get in there, I use it, I get out. I'm not hanging out at the exchange or using Tether. Just my personal, again, paradigm and paradox that I live by. Let's see here. Going on down. Got another big one. Guy, XRP Guy. Thank you for the super chat, my man. He says, Jake, the absolute legend. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you. Carbon One member. Shout out from Central Georgia. I will be the biggest I told you so guy ever after price appreciation. Like, subscribe, share, and join the mastermind. Best intel out there. I got it through this time. Thank you, my man, on the super chat and for the shout out and all the appreciation on the mastermind. And again, if that sounds cool to you and you want to participate with over 7,500 other people there that think this is awesome, I think it's awesome. Again, we started it. I try to provide a lot of value there to that group. You can absolutely join. It's just beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in social or Carbon One. I think you're going to have to fight James Rule on the biggest I told you so guy. You got Huss the Bounty says, good evening. And is 10,000 XRP enough? Do you see XRP obtaining 10% of global GDP? I think XRP will surpass all of global GDP in market cap. And I think all of the back-end settlement between everybody. I think markets will be priced in drops in the future. It's probably 5 or 6 years away before markets are priced in drops. And you can quote me on that. I do think that that's actually going to be the outcome. Around 2030 is all global markets will be priced in XRP or drops. We got David. He says, yo, Jake, I just noticed a tab for Zahao next to XRP on the Zaman wallet. What's your opinion on XHA Zahao's token or hooks? I mean, I like it. I think that's so you need some type of like lightweight smart contract capability on the XRPL. I think that they'll probably end up pushing that to the mainnet at some point. Kind of like Soroban smart contracts on Hyperledger. They wanted to test it on the side chain to make sure that it was scalable for settlement before they pushed it to the mainnet. And I don't know where we're at on that. That's probably a question for David Schwartz that I will ask him the next time I see him. We got BD in the house. They say, just here to say, hey, Jake, reverse carry trade Claver. looks like it's starting to happen. Thoughts? You are the only one I can find who's stuck to their guns on this one. Look, man, like I don't know how to tell y'all I know without telling you I know. Okay. Again, super blessed and grateful to be in certain rooms and have conversations with certain people and have the discernment to be able to put stuff together from an amalgamation of conversations that I had to be able to come up with the domino theory. But when you get the nod on stuff, you don't have to question it. So I know a lot of people have gone back and forth on this or that. Is this going to be the catalyst or whatever? I'm still here more than a year and a half later talking about the same thing, which I sound like a broken record at this point, but I know I'm right. So kind of like Michael Burry. I don't know if you guys have watched The Big Short, but he was wrong for like 2 years. And then, he's down to his last $40 million before it became like $400 billion that he made his investors because he was, paying for all those options that he created. Like there was no way to short the housing market before Michael Burry. So, if I need to harp on stuff for 2 years to be right, cool. I'm good with that. That's still a reasonable time frame in my mind. We got CJ H Crypto. They say, any idea on where to the new JPM stands on crypto? Newbie here. Longest drive 440. Damn. 640 par 5, 7-iron home for a 6-foot eagle. 6 hole in one. You have 6 hole in ones? I only have 1 hole in one. It was a 6-iron from 200 that I made when I was like, I guess a 17 when I made that hole in one. That's my only hole in one. I went and played Sunday. It's the first time that I've like hit a club in a year. It's ugly. It's very ugly. When you're good, like I'm not saying I was that good. I was scratch. I was like a +4 at one point. I just have no touch anymore. Like short game is garbage. But I don't practice, right? So I don't expect it to be great. Ball striking was still decent. But I'm at a point where like I watch all these long drive guys on Instagram and I'm like, oh, I hit it that far. They're hitting it like you said, like 440, 500. I need to go get a new driver. Like mine's an old driver. But my irons, I was hitting pitching wedge over 200. 9-iron was like 220, and then on up with my irons after that. So, like, I got it. I can put it out there. But I think I'm just going to go to the long drive because I just don't have the time to practice the short game stuff anymore. Anyway, all right, back to where JPM stands on crypto. They are bought in. They have Onyx. They have JPM coin, which is their stable coin. It's going to be interoperable with the XRPL. That's why we need the EVM sidechain and Axelar. And all of that's been built out to allow for JP Morgan to be interoperable. We got APSM. They say, Mr. Muscle Claver. Hope you are well. I am. So the benefit on yield on assets is only possible for U.S. residents. No, we'll be able to do that for anybody globally. I'm just saying we're the only regulated institution that has a compliant way of doing this with securities law and other stuff here in the U.S. This person says, Jake, not sure how much you can tell us, but how in the world did you build the network and get into the rooms and circles you have? Blows my mind. XRP to $8, and I'm DWP day one. Divine intervention. I don't know. I always lead with value first when I try to meet somebody. I really like irks me when people ask me for things right off the jump, because I don't do that to other people. Always try to help other people. And if they ask me what I need, then I will tell them, but I'm not, I don't know. I always lead with value first. So that's been a big deal for people providing introductions. Like there's reciprocity on that. If I always try to help you solve your biggest problem and I'm able to do that or make an introduction that does, people tend to respond well to that. I've also just paid my way into rooms. Like, and I know that sounds however you want to take it, but like sometimes you got to pay to play, and that's how the world works. Masterminds are that way. We try to make it super affordable to get in stuff with us, because I have paid $3, $5, $10, $36,000 per year to participate in certain groups. And it's a pay to play deal, right? Like, in order to get access, and there's paywalls on things, and it's also a qualifier. Like, if you're able to pay that amount of money to get in that room, then you probably make enough money to be in that room. First private jet that I got on was $8,000. My wife thought I was crazy. I think also, like, putting yourself in certain environments helps you helps your brain realize that you can be there, and then also helps you figure out how to stay there. So, like, they talked about flying first class. If you listen to Steve Harvey, he says fly first class, pay the extra, fly first class, because once you do that and you get the hot nuts and the and the warm towel and like all the wine and, like, the bubbly up there, and they're super nice and all the stuff, you're like, dang, like, I want to do this all the time. How do I afford this? And you start to think bigger. And that's also been a big component of how I've gotten into rooms with other people. But I would say the main way is just help other people get what they want, and then they will help you get what you want. And if you can align incentives like that, like, I think that's, you want win-win scenarios. I hate zero-sum games. I always position it where the other person has to win for me to win. And if you do that, and you know what somebody else wants to get to, and you can help them get there, they will help you get to where you want to go. So again, sometimes it's just fork up the cash to get in the right room with the right people. Like, as an example, XDC Boston, that first event, I think we sponsored. I don't remember how much it was. It was not cheap. Lloyd Nelson put that on Trey, and he invited, Quincy and Simon from Uphold, and all the other people that were there that also sponsored, and we happened to be a sponsor, and so we got to go to the VIP after party with all of them. Same thing at other events. If you sponsor, they take care of you, and you also get to meet all the other sponsors. Same thing for, like, TexCon. We sponsored that. I get to be in the room with Texas Blockchain Council, Texas Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, Texas NASDAQ, Goldman, and all the other people that are going to be on stage speaking because they sponsored. A lot of it's pay to play, which, like, you can be mad at that, or you can just accept it and do what you need to get in the right rooms. And if I'm able to do that, and I'm able to bring value to you guys, like, that's where I'm supposed to be, and I kind of view myself as the conduit for that. Like, I want to be able to be in these rooms to get the information to be able to give you guys cool stuff, because not everybody has the luxury. Like, you got lives, you got a job, you got kids, like, can't travel all the time and do all the stuff that you may want to do. XRP hadn't gone to $8 yet, right? So, like, hard to afford all of it. But anyway, that's the gist of it. It's not, maybe not as sexy as you were hoping for. But I'll just be real with people. I'll just tell you, Michael says, with the amount of outstanding shares, how do we get to $10 to $20? XRP is not shares. It's not a corporation. It's a token that moves value on a network. So I know people want to use the analogy like a stock, but it is not a stock at all. So you're probably new to crypto or don't really understand crypto that well if you're still calling these things shares. And the way that you describe that also leads me to believe that you understand this as a share or an equity. It's not that at all. It is a network. It's a protocol. And the outstanding shares, or the total supply of the token, is what you mean. And the available supply are two very different things. They're not tradable. Much of it is locked up. Much of it is held away. Much of it is not accessible on exchanges. And so if you only had 1 billion available on exchanges for trade, that's 100th of the total supply. And it would take 100th of the amount of money moving into that to push the price to those levels as most people would think it would. Because again, it's not a stock. Not everything's available for trade. And so again, I put out a whole video on this if you want to go check it out on the channel. And I really do appreciate the super chat. But yeah, that's like, again, the correlation that most people make that these are the same as equities is just inaccurate. And I don't mean ignorant in a mean way. I just mean like most people don't understand what this stuff is versus equities, and they want to make an analogy and something related to something they do understand. So you're not wrong in any of that. Just again, it's a different asset class and a different type of asset versus anything else that most people are aware of. We're not going to get through all of the chats. I'm going to knock out these 1, 2, 3, 4 super chats, and then we're going to, oh, actually, I've done all of these. So we're going to continue to scroll here. We're just going to go all the way to the bottom, and we're going to work our way up a little bit. We're going to do 5 more, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight. If I missed your super chat, please join the mastermind. Please send it to me in a DM. And I will say this, I will never message you. It's not me. It's a scam. Please block and report anybody that is impersonating me or messaging you via DM. I'm never going to reach out to you. I don't have time. I wish I did. I wish I had time. I work 12 to 16 hours a day, and I do this, but I rarely get on social media. We do have a social media manager who's a wonderful lady that will answer your comments and your DMs to me. If you DM me, she will help answer you, but I will not message you. So if you get a message from somebody that looks like me, it is a scam. Please block them. Do not give them your keys. Do not send them crypto. I will also say, I will never ask you for your XRP. I don't even do that to our clients. That's not my job. I don't do it. I don't work at Digital Wealth Partners. I'm not an advisor. So if fake Jake is asking you for your XRP or to send it to Web3 wallet or Flare airdrop or any of the other crazy stuff that's going on out there, it's a scam. Don't do it. If you do it, we do have protections for you in the mastermind. We have a group that can recover your assets if you tell them quick enough. If you're in carbon 1 or higher, you have access to that group to be able to recover your assets. So that's another benefit that we provide people there in the mastermind. All right. A couple more here, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got the 7. They say, I have a friend that has years of unfiled back taxes. Can he set up an LLC with you in that situation, or does that need to be taken care of completely before starting the LLC? He's fine. He can set up the LLC. You can't set up a trust, and I have to take care of all of that before you set up a trust. But an LLC is fine. The IRS isn't going to prevent you from making money to be able to pay the taxes. They will if you're trying to evade it and get it out of your name and into a trust. That's a no-no. Nate C says, thanks for everything that you do. Coinbase slashes their XRP reserves. Something is brewing. I agree with Nate C. He knows what's going on. Here's the code one more time for people on the mastermind. It's Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 there in the mastermind for either social or carbon 1. And again, I give a lot more information than I give here there in the mastermind. And I will say, we're going to lock it down. I've said this before, but on the other side of a $10 XRP, we're locking down the community. If you're not in the community when that happens, too bad, so sad. We're going to lock it down for 30 days. We're doing background checks, and we're going to really raise the price for people's access. And I had a guy be like, oh, you fearmonger people, and you're like, use it as a marketing tactic. I'm trying to protect people, okay? We have a lot of really good people in there. They're going to have a lot of money, like a lot of money. I'm not letting just any Joe Blow into the mastermind post-price appreciation, okay? I'm fine with Joe Blow now. You can be a good person come in here, hang out. If you got an allocation to XRP, we would love to have you in the group. You don't even have to have an XRP allocation. Most people do though. It's a community of people that are in crypto. They understand each other. If you feel like you're on an island out there and you just want cool people to talk to and not feel crazy, great community for you. And then again, there's all the other benefits that we have there as well. But I will say this, we are going to lock it down. So if you do want to make sure that you're in, it's $2. And again, if you don't like it for whatever reason, you can cancel at any time. It's month to month, no contract. But 7,500 people being in there should probably tell you something like, it's pretty good if people want to continue paying and continue to hang out. Michael, again, with the super chat. Thank you, my dude. He said, sorry, I've had to put my son back to bed. Can you explain to the group how market cap outstanding shares of XRP don't matter? I think I just did that, but I will go over it one more time because you gave me like $150 tonight, my man. You did not need to do that. I try to get to all the super chats. It doesn't matter how much people spend. So thank you. Again, they're not shares. This is not a company. It's not a publicly traded equity. This is a protocol and a token that moves value on a network. So very similar to like email and data packets that move between email providers to be able to settle that message, that I send you from my Yahoo to your Gmail. That's the Internet of Information and the email protocol that allows those to settle between providers. Used to, back in the day, AOL, you had to have AOL in order to receive, from somebody else at AOL. You couldn't send AOL to Yahoo on the emails until the email protocol was the thing. This is a protocol that settles value. So you can imagine at scale the amount of payments globally that happen daily. They've never seen a market cap of a protocol or a network that worked globally until Bitcoin. And now, if you were using actual markets and banks and institutions settling value, that value is significantly higher than what moves over Bitcoin every single day. And again, the throughput would be required for that. And that's why the XRPL is uniquely positioned to be able to handle all those things. But when it comes to total market cap, the available supply and the total supply are two very different things. All shares are being traded at all times on the stock market. There's not like you can lock up shares. I guess you could borrow margin against them. But just like Bitcoin, like I think Satoshi's going to move his Bitcoin also. So watch for that. That's going to be a sign of the end for Bitcoin. But that's 1.1 million Bitcoin or 1.098 million Bitcoin that's locked up in those 20,000 wallets that has never moved. It's not available. Can't trade it. Same thing for XRP. There's over 48 billion XRP in Ripple's escrow. Not tradable. So, if you just took that off the table, you got 52 billion in available supply, but that's not what's available on exchanges. Uphold has about 5 billion in retail's hands on their exchange. Coinbase is down to like almost nothing available for trade for XRP on its exchange. So, there might be a billion, 2 billion, probably less than 2 billion available on the exchanges for people to buy and trade. So, if you're thinking about like, well, it's going to take this much money to move the market cap, it doesn't work that way. There's only 1/50th of the supply maximum available for trade. So now those numbers come way, way down for the amount of inflows that are going to be required in order to push the price up to a lot of these higher levels. And again, if you had ridiculous amounts of demand for an asset and not that much supply, it really just comes down to economics. Like everybody took economics in high school. Supply and demand drives price. And the market cap is going to look kooky to people. It's going to be numbers that we've never seen before. But like 10 years ago, if you told somebody that there was going to be $1 trillion company, they'd have called you crazy. And now we have multiple $1 trillion companies. So it's not that crazy to me to think that these protocols could be worth quadrillions, pentillions over the long term if they're moving all the value globally, and that's what's being settled over the network. How many emails do you think move daily? Like 1 trillion? Probably not a trillion emails, but it's probably a couple billion emails daily. Like maybe it's more than that. I don't know. There's 8 billion people on the planet. 1.7 million don't have access to banking services, but they have cell phones. So if every single person sent one email, that's 8 billion emails a day. And I get hundreds of emails a day. So it'd be an interesting statistic. I'd like to see how many emails are sent per day. But you can imagine, like, if all of those were moving $1 and it was the same thing and a limited supply of that thing moving all those, probably have to be a pretty decent price. R. Montoya, he said, going forward, I should move it to Caleb and Brown or just buy decent. I'd get it on a cold wallet, my man. That's up to you. Caleb and Brown is the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. They do have segregated accounts. They are audited. There is at least some insurance. It's not institutional custody. They don't have any institutional licenses or financial licenses there in Australia to be able to transact business. They're not bankruptcy remote. If they went under, you're a creditor of Caleb and Brown, just like any other exchange. But they do have at least some of the things for institutional custody. So I do think that they're better than all the other exchanges. If you're going to keep it on an exchange, Caleb and Brown's probably the best exchange to keep it on, but still not institutional custody. And again, I would prefer a cold wallet over Caleb and Brown. And I've interviewed their CEO. We have a video on our channel. That was before they got bought. This person said, you blew through how much I left Japan to unwind. I don't know what you're asking, but we are past the danger zone. We are here. LPF Cookie with the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. And we are past time. I'm going to take one more and then we're going to close out for tonight. We got Dragonfly. That's a cool name. 1776. They say, Jake, I just started the DAG LLC. Awesome. Good to be working with you. I have 100,000 XRP. Awesome. Crushing it. I am not accredited at this time. What are the benefits of joining DWP, or should I wait till price appreciation? We're going to have solutions for you in the very near future. But you can wait if you want to, if you don't want to pay the fees. Institutional custody, you get to add your spouse on there. You can add beneficiaries on the account. You have insurance on the assets. They're segregated, bankruptcy remote. It's the safest and most secure place in the US for your assets. That's why BlackRock moved all of their assets for their ETFs from Coinbase to Anchorage. So that's kind of what you're paying for, and again, I don't like charging people money and not making them money. We are pushing extremely hard to be able to provide solutions for people to generate returns so that we're always charging less than we're making you. And we will have that to market here in Q4. I'm hoping in the next 30 days. So up to you. Again, I understand not wanting to onboard and pay fees. For some people, it's worth it, right? They don't want to deal with these assets. They don't want to hold it on a ledger. They know it's going to much higher, significantly higher prices. And they want to make sure that their spouse is on there and their kids are on there. So if something, God forbid, happened to them, they know that their family is going to be okay. Again, if you do want the LLC like Dragonfly, you can use the code right here, 50 off 50OFFDAG LLC. That gets you everything end to end, all that you're going to need to make sure that you maintain your corporate veil and creditor protection. They're in Wyoming with the anonymity and the correct way to file it with no tax implications for $2,000. Get you everything end to end with that code. And that's at digitalfamilyoffice.io. If you do have as much as Dragonfly here and you have at least 100,000 XRP, we would love to work with you at Digital Wealth Partners. Or if you have at least $500,000 in total portfolio value, and that includes traditional assets. So let's say you only had like 20,000 XRP, so 60 grand over here, but you had $440,000 in your stock portfolio. If you want to move that over along with the crypto, we would love to work with you. You meet the $500,000 minimum. So that's going to be it tonight. Again, if you want to join the mastermind, we would love to have you. And we are going to lock it down on the other side of price appreciation. So if you want to get your spot, it is $2 if you use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month there in Carbon One or Social. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. If I missed your super chat, please DM me over there in the mastermind and I will get to it. And hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you guys Wednesday night. God bless, and we'll see you guys on the next one.